Everyone. Happy Monday. Big happy Monday to you. I hope you're excited about the week. I hope you're having a great day so far. And if you're not, I'm sorry and I hope it gets better. But join in the conversation here. Today we are talking about imposter syndrome and a little bit about the Dunning-Kruger effect. And Envy would like to have her say, she's barking in the background there. It happens. Let me know if you're watching along and where you're tuning in from and how you're going today. So I want to talk about imposter syndrome, and I actually posted, when was it? 2 hours ago, just asking on the page if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome and what do you think is the cause. So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's basically believing the voices in your head, the crappy ones that put you down and lower your confidence. It's when you kind of feel like, who am I to be the one teaching people how to train their dogs? Who am I to do this? Am I really good enough for this? Experienced enough for this? I heard someone say once, it's believing your own bullshit, which I completely agree. It's barely ever true. It's something that's like this phenomenon that people go through that's really common where they just feel like, I don't know if I know enough. I don't know if I'm experienced enough to do this. And in this case, we're talking about to provide dog training services. So I want you to notice if you go back to my previous post, and maybe if people comment along here, I don't know yet. But when I asked why you think you struggle from imposter syndrome, there's a common theme that came up, and this common theme always comes up for imposter syndrome. So I'm going to read a couple of the comments out, and I want to see if you recognize what that theme is that's happening here. So, Luzelle says, Australia and New Zealand. So Luzelle is in New Zealand. I'm in Australia. She says they do have insane tall puppy syndrome, but that is very strong in the dog world anyway. So if you don't know what tall puppy syndrome is, it's too much self-confidence, like arrogance. However, I think it's important, she goes on to say, I think it's important not to pay attention to what people say unless you respect their opinion. That is one way to help myself deal with imposter syndrome. Another one is that I focus on my success and use my challenges as information about where I need to improve. So that's some tips from Luzelle. And then Wanda replied to Lizelle, and she said basically about taking information as of what works and what doesn't as learning points. And she said, I'm finding even amongst local positive reinforcement trainers, they're very cliquey and protectionist when it comes to newly qualified positive reinforcement trainers. I thought that having built a relationship with some of them, there would be more support than there is. There's some, but only for specific people. So that's a couple of comments from that conversation. And then Laura chimed in and she basically said that she has experienced imposter syndrome a lot. She said, story of my life. And I said, why do you think that is? And she said, probably because I always feel that others are much more qualified or better than me at doing the same thing. So why would people want to choose me? So then if I go to the Dog Matters Pro group, which is the other place that I posted about this, there was a couple of comments on there as well. So we're just still looking for this theme. I want to see if you know what I'm getting out of what the theme is that's going on here. Hey Wanda, thanks for tuning in. We just discussed one of your comments as well. From Perth in Western Australia. That's awesome. So Karen says that she experiences it all the time. She says, I still think of myself as a learner, and it's hard to get to the realization that so many people are looking to me as the one to learn from. And there's the pressure that brings to get it right, to always know the answers, to have the best ideas. And OMG, what if someone says something better than me or says it before me and I'm supposed to know more? OMG, self pressure. And then Sarah said, I think women often naturally suffer from it. We just don't generally back ourselves like men do. Research shows that men will apply for a role that they have 10% skills for, and women will apply for roles that they feel they have 90% skills for, which is true. And I'm sure there's been some studies on that men just seem to be, I think it's that they're less of an overthinker. I think, but that's my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. But just from what I found and experienced, I think that men will look at instructions of what they've got to do something, like, okay, we're going to advertise our business and this is how to do it, and it involves putting yourself out there, and the guy's going to go, that's what I do? Okay, cool. And then they're going to go do it. But it seems like a lot of women look at it and overthink every little step and look at all the what ifs and what it could lead to and catastrophize, and they just seem more likely to do that. Sorry to generalize, don't come at me, but I think from my understanding of what I've seen, that does tend to happen, and I've seen other like experts say similar things as well. Wanda says, my understanding of tall poppy, not saying it's more accurate, is the resentment of and intention to drag down others who we may feel are doing better than us. Again, it's only my understanding. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's definitely part of it. I think you're right. The tall poppy syndrome, where people are like, I know best, but then if they see someone else doing well, they literally want to drag them down. Yeah, I think you're right there. But what I was wanting to point out that is a common theme with people's comments and their experiences with this feeling of imposter syndrome and not being good enough is that it always seems to relate back to looking at others, comparing to others, and ultimately worrying about the judgment of others. Envy, honestly. Someone must be right outside the fence or something. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking, and if you can't, sorry that I stopped talking to acknowledge it. But all of these comments and this theme is that we're worried about what others think, or we're looking at what others are doing and comparing to them. And so many things come back to this. So many things. We've done a whole video before. It's been a while, but we did a whole live video about comparing to others, and maybe we'll go through and do another one soon, because that was quite a while ago. That was probably a couple of years ago. We did a whole Facebook Live about comparison to others because it's so common. I don't know if it's just the dog training industry, but it certainly seems really common in the dog training industry. We're looking at people putting their work out there, and maybe they're doing things that look really amazing with their dogs. Maybe their dogs can do some advanced trick or something, or they're winning trophies in a sport with their dogs, and maybe you look at that and go, I don't know if I could do that. They're like so much more advanced than me. Or maybe it's not the dogs. Maybe they are like, Wanda says, stop apologizing for your dog doing stuff. Yeah, if anyone can relate, it's people that are in my audience. But yeah, maybe you're looking at someone and it's their business that looks really amazing, or they look like they're getting lots of clients, or they've got a new vehicle and it looks all like shiny and sign written, and you can't afford that, and you're wondering, like, why do they look so successful? Well, remember, social media by nature is going to show all the best bits, and it's going to show people's highlight reels. It doesn't mean that they're more successful than you, and even if they are, that doesn't mean that you need to compare to them. Like, why are they the yardstick to measure against? You don't need to compare to anyone else. You just need to be able to help your client. This sort of feeling is extremely common. So above everything else, I want you to know that you're not alone. And even if you're looking at someone that looks really successful, they're probably experiencing all of the same sorts of feelings that you are or have in the past. I can definitely tell you that I have experienced this in the past, not even the distance past. I still get this come up. I felt like this a few weeks ago. So, if you need a reminder, look at your results, your reviews, the comments from people that you've trained, and the recommendations that you get. And if you're getting recommendations for your business, like that doesn't just happen if you're not any good. And if you're not any good, you're not going to get the positive comments and the thank yous and the cards and the reviews, any of that good stuff. It doesn't just magically happen. Like, people are only going to do that if they're grateful and happy with what you've done. And a really important thing to remember too, with all of this comparison stuff and not feeling good enough, again, compared to others, or worrying about people judging, is that most people who are in my dog training audience, they run a dog training business like I do, where they're helping pet dog owners in the general public. You are not training other trainers, and you will probably find that the people you're worrying about judging you or comparing to are other trainers. So maybe there's plenty of trainers that are better at what they do than you do. But if you're the one helping the client, then all that matters is between you and that client and the results that you can achieve and that you can help them. And if you've got results in the past, you can do it again and again. And everyone is going to come across challenges with that. They're not going to be able to know all the answers right away. And we don't have to know all of the answers right away. And there's always different ways that we can adjust and adapt and handle situations if we don't know something. There's also the Dunning-Kruger effect that relates to this. Now, you've probably heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm going to read out just from Google results what it is. And if you Google it, you can see a chart that gives a good visual example of what it is. But it says, in the field of psychology, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. It's related to the cognitive bias of illusory superiority and comes from the inability of people to recognize their lack of ability. So it was, by the sound of it, originally coined the term to be about people that think that they're really good at what they do, but they're actually not so much. However, if you look at the chart, there's also people at the other end of the scale that are quite or very good at what they do, but they still lack the self-confidence and they think that they're not very good at what they do. So it's two opposite ends of this scale. And I would say that people that I talk to in the dog training industry, especially if they're beginners, I think you get a mix. Like, a lot of trainers, when they first start out, they learn a lot of stuff and they want to tell everyone, and they're noticing things that people are doing with their dogs that is wrong or that they wouldn't recommend, that like they can see things that the average dog owner might not notice. And they might feel, oh, I know a lot about this. I've got to tell everyone and I've got to fix their mistakes and I've got to educate these people. And I feel like they know a lot. And then after some time, especially spending time around other trainers, online and offline, they realize, oh, actually, there's so much more to this and I've got so much to learn and I don't actually know that much. And they take a hit to their confidence. Maybe something happens with a case that they can't solve, or they just realizing as things come up and they ask questions that there's so much more to learn. And they might take a hit to their confidence that goes too much in the other way. Or people start out and they know from the beginning they've got so much to learn. And so even though they are progressing and they're learning so much, they don't realize how far they've come and that they do have good things to offer. And if you are worried that you're on the other end of the Dunning-Kruger effect and that you think that you are better than what you actually are, then you're probably not. Because someone that thinks they're better than they are and is overconfident, they usually don't realize because they're so confident. So if you have any worry that you might be too overconfident, then you're good. You're fine. So that's what I wanted to cover today. And if you are putting yourself out there and running a dog training business and you want to boost it, let me tell you that I think it was this morning I woke up to a awesome post. I love finding these posts in my Dog Matters Pro Masterclass group. So people that do my coaching program with me, of a student that she just joined in our last intake and she just had her first $3,000 day. And if you want to experience that, you can always send me a message. If you want to get those 3K days, those 10K months, those 100K years and beyond, you can always send me a message and talk about joining and when we're opening next. And if you want to get started right away and you want to either revise or create your dog training programs that sell, then you want to make sure that you grab the program creation kit, which has swipe files, templates, if you will, of different programs that you can model of, use as inspiration, copy, and little examples of blurbs of how I would recommend that you write it for your program descriptions, and a list of inclusions that you can put in your programs, like a menu, pick and choose, and a breakdown of what it takes to have your first $100,000 year, and a guide on how to set your rates, and videos and text explainers for all of this. It's mobile friendly, you can log in, you can keep access, and all of that is just $37. I've put the link in the comments and pinned that there. I hope you have a fantastic day. Let's go into the week optimistically. I hope we're all going to have a great week that is positive and profitable. And I will see you through the week with more Facebook Lives. So feel free, if you have any requests or questions that you want me to talk about, to send me a message and let me know just on the page, or post in the Dog Matters Pro group, or anywhere that you want to contact me. You can put that in. I love to hear about your ideas and what you want to hear from me about. Have a fantastic day and a fantastic week until I see you again next. Take care, and I'll see you around. Bye.